All right there, everybody. Black business ownership has gone up 400% under President Donald Trump's economic nationalism. That's what we'll be talking about on today's video. You know, there's just something in the air right now. I think we can all feel it and sense it. There's just something so amazing happening in our midst. I think it was Scott Adams. Well, I know it was Scott Adams who talks about what he calls the golden age emerging all around us. And if you're familiar with it, what he means by the golden age is that things we never thought possible because of the limitations of our culturally conditioned perceptions of the world, things we never thought possible are actually now happening all around us. We never thought peace with North Korea was possible. And then lo and behold, we have the first ever summit between the President of the United States and the North Korean leader, who then subsequently dismantles his North Korean nuclear test sites. We never thought manufacturing and industry jobs would ever return back to the United States after being shipped away to the global south, and now the manufacturing sector has the lowest unemployment rate ever recorded, under 3%. Many economists said that the days of 4 or 5% economic growth were over, and now they've come back. And of course, our political pundits, our geniuses, said that Donald Trump would never, ever, ever, ever in a million years, ever, no conceivable possible way, ever become president. Well, now we're seeing something so beautiful emerging so as to contribute to this notion of an emerging golden age. And that is the massive increase in the rise of black entrepreneurship throughout our nation. According to the 2018 Small Business Trends Survey, which tracks the status of minority-owned businesses in the United States, black-owned small businesses grew by an astonishing 400% in just 1 year alone between 2017 and 2018. In fact, after surveying more than 2,600 business owners, the study found that 45%, nearly half of all small businesses in the nation, were owned by minority ethnic groups in 2018. Now compare this to 3 years ago in 2015, we'll get an idea of how utterly astonishing this percentage is. Back in 2015, the percentage of businesses owned by minority ethnic groups was 15%. That percentage has grown by an astonishing 300% in just the last 3 years alone. But of course, the most dramatic constituent of this growth has been black business ownership, which now accounts for nearly 20% of all businesses in the United States. Astonishing number. Now, in many respects, this is a follow-up to a video we did a few days back on Trump's approval rating among African Americans. And this was from data compiled by the Rasmussen Polling Group, which historically is one of the most accurate polling organizations out there. Rasmussen, if I recall, had Donald Trump up 2 points the day before the election in 2016. So he's one of the few pollsters that saw the Trump surge before the election. We, of course, predicted that Donald Trump would win in a series of 7 videos. My very first videos for this channel, we began on November 1st, 2016, and we predicted that Trump would win the election. Sorry, I'll just never stop gloating on that one. So, last week, I believe it was Monday of last week, Rasmussen found that 31% of blacks approved of President Trump's performance, which was an astonishing number. Remember, again, we noted this, that African Americans are the single most reliable and monolithic Democratic constituency, voting on a national average of about 95% Democratic. So a 31% approval rating for a Republican president was inconceivable, right? As Vizzini and Vizzini, is that his name? In the Princess Bride movie said, inconceivable. But then Rasmussen found that number, in just a few days after that poll, actually jumped again to an astonishing 36%. In other words, President Trump, the supposedly racist president, is within earshot of a 40% approval among the Democrats' most loyal constituency. And we pointed out, too, that these poll numbers are coming at a time when black support for the Democratic Party has been at one of its lowest points in the last few decades. A Zogby survey released back in May found that black support for the Democrats was down 20% since January of this year. Now, we argue that one of the reasons for the surge in support among blacks for President Trump was largely due to a massive paradigm shift that's currently going on in the United States when it comes to our conception of race relations. Again, like we argued for the last several decades, but particularly since the 1960s, the whole notion of race relations has been dominated by what we call here on this channel an emancipatory myth, which is a globalist-inspired political idea that re-envisions the state as a grand liberator of individuals from traditions and customs that are now deemed oppressive and discriminatory, right? The emancipatory myth is often referred to as identity politics or cultural Marxism. Regardless, it all boils down to this notion that the role of the state in a globalist society is to liberate or emancipate individuals or groups from cultural and traditional norms that are now considered oppressive and discriminatory. However, this vision of race relations is in fact currently being replaced, or at the very least challenged, by another vision of race relations, and that's what's known as economic nationalism. Okay, so now according to economic nationalism, the solution to racial disparities is not the promise of power to minorities, but rather the promise of new and exciting economic opportunities for every single citizen in the nation. And so if you're a young person looking for an entry-level job, no matter what your race, it's my job as the president to make sure that the borders are secured so that not only do you have employment opportunities, but also your wages are fixed at a fair market value. If you're an industrial manufacturing worker, it's my job as president to make sure that your jobs are protected from globalist multinational corporations that want to ship them overseas. And if you're an aspiring entrepreneur who wants to start your own business, it's my job as president to make sure to keep taxes and regulations low enough so that you have a free flow of money and ever-increasing profit margins so as to encourage and promote your entrepreneurial success. That's what we argue is really behind the motivating factor behind this inconceivably high levels of support for Donald Trump among blacks. Well, now we seem to have at least some evidential, circumstantial corroboration for that thesis. Black entrepreneurship is up so substantially in the last year that it would appear rather odd and strange for that not to be effectively transfiguring their approval rating of Trump. And my friends, if this is happening, if the economic boom that we're experiencing really is effectively replacing the emancipatory myth with economic nationalism among all races and ethnicities within our nation, if that's true, the Democratic Party is dead. It just doesn't know it yet. Its whole commitment to identity politics and cultural Marxism is evidenced of late by Andrew Cuomo's ridiculous assertion that America has never been that great in the first place. Boy, that whole commitment to identity politics and cultural Marxism is destined for the ash heap of history, precisely, by the way, where it belongs. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Click on our Patreon link below and become a monthly supporter of this channel and help us to continue to analyze current events in light of awesome conservative trends so that you can personally and professionally flourish. God bless.